This is WVUA News with special championship week coverage from Alabama's home team.
A shot over the skyline, over the city of New Orleans, where Alabama's home team is taking you along for the countdown to the big national championship game. And we're glad you're with us tonight. I'm Lynn Brooks. Terry Brewer will join us in just a moment. We'll get along to the day's news in just a minute, but first, a word about where we are. We are coming to you live from New Orleans. I'm standing in front of the Riverwalk. In fact, it's right along the Mississippi River. We're actually coming to you, as I said, live from the Big Easy from now through next Monday night. WVUA News at 5, 6, and 10 will come to you from right here in New Orleans. We are physically located right in the heart of downtown at the Marriott Convention Center. That is our headquarters for the entire week leading up to that big BCS championship game between Alabama and LSU. And we'd like for you to come along with us over the next 5 days. We are going to really explore the Crescent City, especially for you food lovers. Get ready. You've heard about those famous beignets from here in New Orleans. Well, our own Matt McCoy went behind the scenes today at Cafe du Monde and shows you how it all gets done.
As you travel here in the French Quarter of New Orleans, Louisiana, there's art being sold on the street. There is music everywhere, really bringing out the flavor of the city alive. And one restaurant that's bringing the flavor alive is across the street at Cafe du Monde, a tradition here in New Orleans, 150 years in the making and still going strong.
We've been here since we traded with the Indians on this spot, and Cafe du Monde has evolved since 1862, and it's still serving the same coffee and beignets we served then.
To me, it's just very unique. It's part of New Orleans, so that if you're going to go to Bourbon Street or you're going to walk on the river or you're going to come to Cafe du Monde.
Now, if you think getting down to New Orleans and trying these world-famous beignets can't fit in your schedule, then think again. They're open 24 hours a day, 364 days out of the year, of course, only being closed to get their employees off for Christmas. Reporting from New Orleans, Matt McCoy, WVUA News.
And hopefully the Crimson Tide football players won't fill up too much on those sweet treats. After all, they do have a game to play in 5 days coming up. We want them to be light on their feet. And joining me now, our own sports director, Gary Harris, who's been following this team, of course, all season long. And Gary, there's a lot of excitement all around the city, all around town. But of course, the main event, the main course, the game.
Yeah, and it's getting started, but it has not really revved up yet. In fact, because the Sugar Bowl was last night, on a Monday night, the team arriving, or actually on a Tuesday night, the team arriving later than usual, about 2 days for this bowl game. Alabama just flew out at 4 p.m., landed just a couple of minutes ago for the Louis Armstrong International Airport. Our crew is there, but it'll really start getting ramped up tomorrow when Alabama practices for the first time in New Orleans. It'll be tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, so all the practices to this point, Lynn, have been held in Tuscaloosa, including the latest one this morning.
All right, thanks a lot, Gary. We'll have more from you coming up. All right, and we have seen some signs of Bama gear already here in the Crescent City. We've seen the crimson and white, the purple and gold store owners transitioning from a lot of the Sugar Bowl items they had out over to BCS attire. We've seen it in several different vendors around town, and our own Bradley Whittington was able to speak with one of those local vendors to see what's the hottest seller, and do they think that Bama fans are going to shell out some big bucks when they come here to the Crescent City?
So right now at the Doubletree Hotel in downtown New Orleans, where the JEB Enterprise souvenir shop is located, it's one of the only places I've seen so far today that's selling both LSU and Alabama merchandise. So right now I'm going to bring to the screen Mr. Tim Johnson, who's been running things here today. So Tim, so far today, what seems to be selling the most, LSU or Alabama stuff?
Well, I'd say right now LSU's selling more, and that's really just because LSU fans are here in New Orleans right now. So
how do you expect sales to change throughout the week?
Well, I think once Alabama fans start coming into town, obviously they'll be buying once they're in town, and Alabama fans always buy a lot, so we're excited for them to get here,
All right, so right now LSU stuff selling more than Bama, but that is expected to change as Crimson Tide fans continue to pour into the Big Easy. Reporting from the DoubleTree Hotel in downtown New Orleans, I'm Bradley Whittington for WVUA News.
And of course, we'll have much more live coverage for you here from New Orleans coming up later on the news at 5. But there is still some news to be told from Tuscaloosa. We're going to toss it back to Terry Brewer for today's news from our local area.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Some fantastic coverage from down there in New Orleans. We certainly appreciate that. Our whole team is there, and they are going to be there all week up until the big game. And so we've got some great stuff coming from there, but already a great kickoff to the BCS National Championship coverage from New Orleans here on WVUA. The BCS Championship title, Tide fans will be eager to get their hands on championship gear, of course, if they clinch the title, and they won't have to wait long because that gear is already in Tuscaloosa. According to Academy Sports Operations Manager Josh Elliott, the store has boxes filled with Crimson Tide National Championship gear, just waiting on Bama's win.
We plan if Alabama, of course, wins the BCS National Championship to reopen immediately following the game and sell the same merchandise that the players will be wearing on the field that day to our fans here in Tuscaloosa who didn't get a chance to actually go down to New Orleans and experience the atmosphere there. But they can still at least get their merchandise and celebrate just as hard here in Tuscaloosa as the people down in New Orleans will be.
Now, Elliott says, of course, the boxes cannot be opened until the game is over and the final score is a done deal. Well, of course, the recovery from the April 27th tornado in Tuscaloosa is still happening every day, and now some signs of new life are showing up in Tuscaloosa. 2 Alabama organizations have joined together to plant new trees for residents in the area. WVUA reporter Jennifer Edwards has that story.
One by one, around 1,000 trees were unloaded off of a truck from Mobile to be given to the people of Tuscaloosa. Michael Allen with Forest Lake Baptist Church says the trees will serve as a reminder that Tuscaloosa is coming back.
The whole area is coming back. We believe that by planting these trees in people's yards, it will give them a renewed sense of home wherever they have either relocated or perhaps rebuilt.
It's called Trees for Life. The Forest Lake Baptist Church teamed up with Dodd Nurseries in Mobile to make the event possible. Owner of Dodd Nurseries, Phillip Dodd, says this is his way of giving back.
A total devastation of the vegetation, and as I've talked to people before, a lot of people think about all the construction damage that's been done up here, but really nobody even thinks about all the vegetation and natural beauty that's been destroyed.
The donated trees will be used to replace those lost during the storms, but they're also going to be used as a new beginning.
We can't replace those trees specifically, but we can plant new trees that will have new memories for new families that live in our area.
Well, the trees are here and ready for a new home. Once they're planted, they'll bring new life to everyone in the community. Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Jennifer Edwards, WVUA News.
And the trees will be given away this Saturday from 8 a.m. until noon at Forest Lake through Wings of Grace, and that's located at 107 18th Street. For more information, here's the number, 205-759-1039. Well, now we're going to send it back to New Orleans for more coverage of the BCS National Championship Week with Lynn Brooks.
Thanks a lot, Terry. We have lots more live coverage here from New Orleans. Also, another local story. You may not think it's a whole lot, but your piece of information could be what leads local authorities to an arrest. That's coming up in Most Wanted. Also, the Alabama football team left today for the BCS championship game in New Orleans. Gary Harris will join us live from the Big Easy in Home Team Sports. And one of the most interesting ways to see New Orleans is through those streetcars. Stick around for more WVUA News at 5, where we are taking you along for the ride.
Now, the Tuscaloosa Chevrolet Sports Update with WVUA's Gary Harris.
The Alabama football team boarded the buses this afternoon at the Malmore Athletic Complex for the short ride over to the Tuscaloosa Airport and then the flight to New Orleans. The Crimson Tide and their BCS championship game opponent LSU both arriving in the Big Easy just a short time ago, so let the hype begin. Good afternoon, everybody. Gary Harris here live on Convention Boulevard in New Orleans, right across from the Riverwalk. As I said, let all the hype begin now. The All-State Sugar Bowl is in the books, and full attention is now turned to the BCS championship game. It's been a short turnaround for the folks handling the media here at the Marriott Convention Center Hotel. The Sugar Bowl ended last night, and the Sugar Bowl and BCS Championship Committee immediately began checking in and credentialing reporters and photographers for the Alabama-LSU game. That started today. Now, it's been quite hectic for them, to say the least.
I think we're looking pretty good now. I have to knock on wood on that. There's always going to be issues that come up. We had a couple minor issues last night, but actually that helps us a little bit having the Sugar Bowl, and we look right into the BCS game, and it's just the numbers. We had about 280 credentialed media for the Sugar Bowl. We have about 800 for the BCS Championship.
It's going to be quite the event here the next 5 days, but let's talk about what's going to happen on the field. Alabama is a great team. LSU is a great team. Obviously, that's why they're playing for the BCS National Championship. Now, the Tigers defeated the Crimson Tide not that long ago, 9-6 in overtime back on November 5th at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Now, you can certainly make the argument that LSU won the game because they executed better than Alabama did. Now, this is what LSU does, according to Nick Saban. They don't try to get fancy. They just play sound, fundamental football, and they beat you.
But I think the bottom line is the better teams win or lose in every game and in bowl games because of their ability to execute. If you look at LSU, they haven't tricked a lot of people this year. They just out-executed them and done a really, really good job. And I think that's probably as good a compliment as you could get for a good team.
And as I stated, the team arrived here just about 15 minutes ago. LSU bust in from Baton Rouge because they only had about 80 miles from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. We'll have updates on the Tide tonight at 6 and 10. Now let's talk basketball.
I think it's very important. Obviously, you want to be playing your best basketball as you head into conference play. This being our last non-conference game, I think it's important that we come out and play well.
And Alabama men's basketball coach Anthony Grant got his wish last night in Atlanta. The Crimson Tide played its final non-conference game of the regular season at Phillips Arena and blew out ACC member Georgia Tech 73-48. All kinds of good stories in this one for the Tide. Point guard Trevor Relaford led the way with 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. Tony Mitchell had 14 points and 6 rebounds. But here is where it really gets interesting. JaMychal Green returned after missing the last 2 games with a sore shoulder. And while he didn't start, he did contribute 9 points and 5 rebounds in 22 minutes off the bench. And junior Andrew Steele, who just returned to the team this week after being cleared by the team's medical staff, scored 9 points and grabbed 2 rebounds after coming back from post-concussion syndrome. Alabama, which improved to 11-3 on the season, will open SEC play on Saturday at Georgia. That's a look at sports live from New Orleans, Louisiana. We've got much more to come at 6 and 10.